Somebody raise their hand. Tell me what they did for number 1 and give me a justification. Tell me why you set up the equation that you set up. Rachel?
I thought x equals y.
And what kind of equation did you set up? So 16x plus 30 equal to 8x plus 70. How did you know that this was equal to this?
Because of the
So when the problem says justify, you're actually doing that first. So even though it's second in the instructions, that's actually the first thing that I would write down. Vertical angles equal. You could write down vertical angle pair, vertical angles equal. All of those would qualify as a justification. And I'm assuming you ended up with 8x equal to 40 and then x equal to 5. On the test, make sure that you go back and check to see that you've actually answered the question. Did we find x? Did we justify? You'll get full credit. Find y and justify. Raise your hand if you have an explanation and an answer for number 2. Kevin?
Added them both together because they're supplementary angles.
You added them both together. And what did you make your equation equal to?
Wait. Oh, 180.
180? And what was your justification for doing that?
It's supplementary.
He said supplementary, and I would take supplementary, but what is a more precise explanation of two angles that are supplementary and adjacent?
Linear pair.
Linear pair. Let's get into the practice of using linear pair as an explanation if our angles are supplementary and adjacent. So down here you put supplementary and adjacent. I wouldn't mark off for supplementary, but a little more accurate would be linear pair. What did you get for y? 10? Do we agree with 10? We end up with 20y equal to 200. Y has to be 10. I'm jumping through a lot of intermediate steps. But I'm assuming you know how to get from there to there to there. And end up with y equals 10. Number 3, raise your hand. Tell me what your equation would look like. Kyle?
4x minus 5 plus 6x.
90, the 90 coming from complementary. This one is not asking for a justification because the justification is right in the instructions. X equals 10. Is that correct? Is my arithmetic correct? Number 4. For some reason, this trips people up on quizzes and tests. We want number line distance. We don't want our graphing distance, Pythagorean theorem, what we have on the sideboard over here. Raise your hand, tell me what to do if I'm just looking for a number line distance. I'm trying to remember names. Wow.
Your last name is Roos, right? Coos. What's yours?
Ryan.
Oh, I knew it was Ryan. Tell me, Ryan, what do I do for number 4?
You want to subtract A from B.
Subtract. That's step number 1. What's step number 2? Suppose you got a negative answer.
You want to make it positive.
All right. Let's say absolute value. Geometry, this year we want our distances to be positive. So we subtract, then we do absolute value. So if I do negative 20 minus 15. That will get me negative 35. And then I should do the absolute value of that. Is that what you got? 35? And it doesn't matter which point you choose to be first. If I switch that, it would already be a positive 35. What was that? That was number line distance. This may seem easy, but it's all in the details. If I want 3 angles, the first thing I do is write down 3 angle symbols. Make sure you have an angle symbol. How many letters should I write down for each one? Boomer? 3. 1 is okay if it's very obvious what that one angle is and what that one letter is. I don't want to say angle B, because I don't know, does that mean this? Does that mean this? What does angle B mean? So you got to be clear when you have more than one angle floating around. I could have CBA. I could have CBD. I could also have ABD. ABD is okay. Doesn't matter if it happens to be a straight angle or a 180 degree angle. Just make sure that you've got 3 letters and that your middle letter, what do we call the middle letter in our name? Let's see, Katie? Vertex. Vertex is a funny math word because it can be used in a variety of ways. You'll see it pop up in different situations. Our first situation is the middle letter in our angle name. That took care of my 3 angles. 3 segments. First thing I do, segment, segment, segment. Do not confuse that with your line symbol. How many letters typically for my segments? 2. What we got? AB, I got CB, I got BD. There's going to be a variety of answers here. Could I switch the order? Yes, still the same segment. I could switch around some of the ordering for the angles also. Just make sure that you put your vertex as the middle letter. 3 rays. Before I write down any letters, I put down the symbol, which is always going to be pointing to the right. 2 letters, starting point and a direction. I can do B towards A. I could do B towards D. I don't have to choose B. I could start at A and I could go towards D. You don't necessarily have to see a physical point always in the drawing. Most of the time you will. If you see a capital letter, that's a point. If you know one angle in an intersection, you know them all. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. What angle would you start with? Okay. Probably 2. I'd put 46 degrees right there. And then over here, I'd write measure angle 2, measure angle 3, measure angle 1. 2 is 46. It's not asking for a justification, but what would be your justification? Kind of fair?
Oh,
Vertical. We have a vertical pair from this side to this side. Why don't you finish this up, Peyton? How would you find angle 1? That would be the linear pair. I do a little subtraction. 180 minus 46 is 134. And angle 3 is another vertical pair, 134, 134. When you are done, what should all of these angles together add up to? 360. You're not seeing a circle in the original diagram, but you're looking at 360 degrees of rotation. find the distance between the 2 points. On your test, make sure that at least once I see the actual full formula. When I do these questions, I say to myself, a squared plus b squared. That is the formula. I put the subtraction symbols in. Then I put in my x1, y1, x2, y2. That would be 5 minus a negative 3, 11 minus 5. That way, I'm not confusing my subtraction symbols with my negative symbols. 8 squared, 6 squared, that is 64 plus 36. That's radical 100. What's the square root of 100? If it works out, it works out. It's okay to write down the whole number. Find the midpoint of the segment with the given endpoints. Once again, show me a formula. I have 4 plus negative 9 over 2. I have negative 11 plus 1 over 2. That's okay, but if you can reduce or change that into a decimal that terminates, that actually ends, negative 2.5 and negative 5. How's my arithmetic? Does that look right? Look good? Any questions on those two? All fairly simple. It's just detail work. It's substitution. Keep that in your notes.